Ask Reddit by alternative cut 4491. What thing people were making fun of 20 years ago but now is seriously real? Online dating. For real. I remember working at a place in the late 90s and there was a guy who met someone online and drove 500 miles to meet her. Everyone was like, have fun being murdered. Crocs being popular. I heard an interview with Mike Judge where he claimed that the reason almost everyone wears Crocs in Idiocracy is because they had a limited budget for wardrobe, and the costume director found this startup company making plastic clogs. The shoes look vaguely futuristic and go with the athleisure wardrobe design, but they were too stupid to ever catch on. Good job, everyone. When YouTube came out I thought it was an incredibly stupid name. Look at iPad. Everyone made fun of that name at the time. Apple said people would get used to it and forget about it. Apple was right. Having a calculator in your pocket. I'm still so irrationally mad at every asshole math teacher who was all, you won't always have a calculator in your pocket. Oh yeah, Brenda. We have a whole fucking computer, you uptight bitch. 20 years ago, don't talk to strangers on the internet and don't hop into a stranger's car. Now, literally talking to strangers on the internet so you can hop into their cars. I press this button and it summons a stranger to take me places. Razors with 5 blades. Almost exactly 20 years ago. https://www.theonion.com/fuck-everything-with-doing-5-blades-18195844036. I remember Mad TV had a skit about a razor with a lot of blades that also shaved off bone. $6 hamburgers. I went to McDonald's last week for the first time in a couple years. $14 for a quarter pounder meal. Like WTF. Bluetooth earpiece. Remember it was a douchy thing? All wireless earbuds are essentially that. But they're stereo. Sitting too close to the TV. Today you strap a 3D TV to your face. To be fair, back in the day the TVs were mildly radioactive. Designer flip-flops. Probably closer to 30 years ago, but I distinctly remember a popular sketch comedy show in Australia airing a spoof ad for the Nike thong back in the 1990s. Imagine charging people absurd amounts of money for a commonplace item often associated with poor people, just because you've slapped a design logo on it. Anyway. Get your Nike flip-flops here. QS9-5 Harj ATH 942 WX03 EE957 A bottles 8 Cav BWE and amp GCLSRC equals or DS. We call flip-flops thongs in Australia. Stop sniggering. Gucci slides come immediately to mind. Video calling. It was a fantasy for most. Laughed at when it emerged, then became a killer feature, and now is the default next to messaging, which was also seen as at our place in its early days. My mom talks about how she used to help my uncle with his math homework over the phone. She had to ask, like, 4 times where the various lines were, which numbers had parentheses, etc. Now when she helps someone with math we just video call and she can see the equation herself. I remember our aunt visiting from California in the early 80s had glass bottles of filtered water. We laughed. I'm sorry having to tell you, but the early 80s happened 40 years ago, not 20. This was only 12 years ago, but this Obama line from his debate with Romney didn't age well. What's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America? You said Russia, not Al-Qaeda. You said Russia, Obama said. And, the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back, because the Cold War's been over for 20 years. I believe in 2016 he also said something like, "Don't worry, the country that elected me is not going to elect Donald Trump." I mean, the logic seemed impeccable. Too bad people don't, in fact, make sense. IDKY, but I wanna say it's easy to fool someone, it's hard to convince them that they've been fooled. Pride. Crocs. Huge brand name now, but 20 years ago everyone thought they were too stupid looking to ever take off. They were chosen as the prison footwear in idiocracy because of how stupid they look. I personally still refuse to wear them because they are really stupid looking, but I can't deny their popularity. They were big for a while and then went silent for 15ish years, and now they are the biggest shoes in the world. Lol, you can't make a living playing video games. People are literally making millions streaming themselves playing video games. Yes, but can you make a living from playing video games? Using the internet to summon a stranger, then willingly getting in their car. Staying in some random person's house instead of a hotel. The decline in decorum and intelligence amongst elected officials. The digital world making a literal map and database of everything you do, see, buy, etc. in the real world. This was foreseen 90+ years ago. Read Brave New World sometime. Written in 1930, so before the first computer was invented, before television was a thing, when vacuum tube radios were all we had. Still, the author did a pretty amazing job of predicting where technology would go and how humans would respond. Working entirely from home in a corporate job. Texting. When it came out, I was annoyed with it. Why spend time typing when I can just speak to the person and actually get my point across and connect with the person I want to communicate with? I thought it was a fad. I was so wrong. TBF though, when it first came out you had to use numbers to make words. It was a royal pain in the ass and I hated it. But yeah, now I'd usually rather just text lol. Having people watch you play video games. This was actually rather common back in the days of the coin-op arcades. The robot takeover. Do you mean Zoombas? Used to get bullied if you played video games, now you get bullied if you're bad. Even as an adult 20+ years ago you got grief if you played video games, liked Star Trek, Star Wars, read comic books or anything like that. That's totally changed. Talking to yourself. But really talking to an earpiece. In the old days if someone was talking to themselves on the street, you assumed they had some mental problems. Then it started to get confusing as more and more people were talking to themselves. And it was like, wait,